we give a big, wonderful thank you to the folks that make this show possible each and every week. Falaya Real Estate, Lake Men's Health Center, Horizon Financial Group, and Gage. Enjoy the show. So, let's start with your college career of baseball then.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
That's a fun way to start it off. I guess people aren't real excited right now about LSU baseball because of what's going on there, but they got the right guy in charge and they're going to be just fine. But it was as a little kid growing up here in Baton Rouge and playing baseball, it was always my dream to play for LSU. Never thought in a million years that I would be at a level to be playing LSU, but fortunately was given that opportunity and feel like I took advantage of what was given to me and happened to be on some really good teams with a really good coach, and we had a lot of success. It allowed me to be involved with the community, get to know a lot of business people in Baton Rouge, people that support LSU athletics and specifically baseball. A lot of those people are still around the program today and love it. My dad was good friends with a lot of those folks, and so getting to know those people was part of the experience, but I had no idea at the time how much it would help me in the future years, once you get into the business world, and having the opportunities to kind of get mentored and spend times with those people at an early age and have them see you grow up and then know you as more of an adult and as a business person in Baton Rouge was really part of the experience. The baseball was great, don't get me wrong, but the truth of LSU baseball is if you perform well and you decide to stay here in Baton Rouge, you can reap a lot of benefits from having those relationships that you built while you were here playing. So it was a great time. Got a little bit of jewelry while I was here. We won 2 rings.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Warren Morris. He helped me out. I would have been the losing pitcher of a College World Series, but with one swing of the bat, I became the winning pitcher. So that's always a fond memory of mine.
So, and you were at LSU for what years?
I was there from 94 to 97.
Okay, yeah. So you had some great wins in that season time.
We did. We had a couple good teams. 96 is probably the most memorable for people because of the Warren Morris and the gold jerseys, which was the first time those were worn. And then 97, the following year, was the infancy of Gorilla Ball, or really the height of Gorilla Ball, when we set an NCAA record for home runs, which, by the way, made pitching really easy when you hit 188 home runs as a teen in one season. You're okay, and you're not sweating, giving up a couple runs. You got a pretty good chance to come back and score some more.
So what is it like on the mound as a pitcher? What are the thoughts that run through your head? Your opening day, can you recall that day?
Yeah, of course.
Your first pitch at LSU,
of course,
in Alex Box,
of course. Like it was against Maine. Was my first appearance. It was the early, maybe the first or second weekend of the season, and I remember it well. It was cold, and Maine, of course, being an up north team, they have to come down here to get into some warm weather and play baseball. But having that disadvantage of not being really outside and getting to have a real spring practice before they come to LSU made it a little bit easier, right? An unexperienced team, or one that doesn't have a lot of on-field time, kind of settles you down a little bit. But yeah, I remember it all, and being on the mound at Alex Box, especially during regional time, is unlike anything else. I mean, it's as a pitcher, you try to have tunnel vision and just lock in on your target and all that, but you can't help but you feel the roar of the crowd. I mean, it literally, you can feel it. And at the old Alex Box, the fans were a lot closer to you, and it was intimidating for an LSU player. I can't imagine what it was like for an opponent to have those people yelling against you rather than for you, because it's a daunting task to go out there, but it's something that if you get behind and use the energy correctly, man, it can make you feel like you can move a mountain.
The LSU fan base has a way of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember almost injuring myself a couple times, getting so pumped up coming off the mound, or maybe not injuring myself, but maybe a teammate, that adrenaline hits through you. And, there's nothing like it, man. I really enjoy it. Still involved with the game to this day. I mean, coaching my youngest son and doing coach's pitch on the weekends and weeknights, and I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a coach's pitch is a pretty safe sport. Yeah, there's not a lot of accidents.
Yeah, I recommend shin guards. Maybe took one off the shin pretty good. I got a nice knot on my shin this weekend from a 6-year-old, so I can't complain too much. But he did hit it really hard.
Yeah, he wanted to get all of it,
Shout out to Sutton Talbot. Nice hit, kid.
So you were one of the fortunate athletes that was then able to go to the next level and play a sport professionally, which, I mean, not a lot of athletes have the ability to do so. I think in all of the episodes on the show, we've maybe had 2 other professional athletes come and sit down. One, I think, teammate Bush brother.
Yeah, Pete. Pete's a little bit older than me. I got to remind him of that. I'm not giving you that one, Pete. Pete's a good friend of mine. But yeah, Pete was somebody I looked up to, as a young kid going out to LSU games. Pete was, in the early years of Coach Burton when they started building the program. He was very friendly to me, even as a little kid, snotty-nosed kid running around the ballpark. He was good to me and my family, and known Pete for a long time. Great guy, and a role model and mentor to me. We've had some business experiences together with Horizon Financial, and so see Pete all the time. He lives right around the corner from me, so he's a great guy.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. All 3 of the Bush brothers.
Yeah, Andy too. Worked with Andy. Bill is more recently in the mix. I don't know him as well, but I know Pete and Andy really well.
So you went on to play professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through that. What's the difference in the mounds?
Difference in the mounds is nothing. It's a totally professional baseball is a totally different baseball game than the collegiate game. I think I thrived in the collegiate game because it's more very team centric. More worried about what's on the front of your uniform. When you get to professional baseball, it's all about one person, and it's you. And I stuck around for a while, but I really crave that, the synergies that exist in a team. In professional baseball, the guy sitting next to you in the dugout is cheering against you because you are his competition to get to the big leagues. And so that becomes, a little bit of a daunting task. You lose that camaraderie in the dugout, and in the clubhouse. So it's a completely different game. Now, fundamentally, it's the exact same. But that aura around the game changes and just a little bit different. It's a job, it's a profession. And you're looking out for number one, whereas, that's why I enjoy youth sports and collegiate sports so much, is because guys are going to give you everything they have to play for the name on the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey.
Yeah, so it's like a total mindset shift.
It is.
When you start actually getting paid to play.
That's correct, because all you're worried about is how you're going to get to the next level and how much money you're going to make. And there are situations that are different, and you see some of those teams that really care about one another and really play for a common goal. That's rare in professional sports these days. It's all about getting to that next contract, getting the highest at your position, and all those types of things. So yeah, I mean, for me, I enjoyed the college game a lot more than I did professionally.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of, for most, it's the same story. Maybe not as bad, I guess, for some other sports, but
yeah,
it's kind of like you play it because you love it in college.
That's right.
Then you play it because you get paid to play it.
That's right.
At the next level.
You go into it thinking, hey, this is my childhood dream. I want to play in Yankee Stadium, or whatever stadium you envisioned yourself playing in when you're a little kid. But it quickly changes, and that's quite frankly what weeded me out. I kind of lost that joy of competing and not necessarily competing, but playing baseball in that scenario.
So then you play baseball professionally for a few years, and then you're like, this just isn't what you hoped it was going to be from such a young age. What was the move? What was the change? Where'd you go?
Yeah, so I had a shoulder surgery probably earlier in my career, and I kind of went through the rehab assignment and played for a number of years after that, but never really felt like I was all the way back. I mean, they perfected the Tommy John surgery where you come back throwing 6 to 8 miles an hour harder. Well, I had a shoulder surgery, and those things are tricky every time. And so I just never felt like I was ever back at 100%. And again, losing kind of the enjoyment in the game, I decided that it was time to move on to an adult career and stop trying to chase dreams of pitching in Yankee Stadium. And so I'd been drafted as a junior out of LSU. And so I had a semester left of school. I hadn't graduated with yet. So I left professional baseball in June, and came back home immediately, called LSU and got enrolled in summer school to finish out my last semester. Was able to knock that out. And by August, I had a financial advisor that I was working with named Pete Bush, who had a small boutique firm here in Baton Rouge. It's called Saxon Bush Davis. And I decided I was going to go to work for them because, I really enjoy it. Like in the clubhouse, in baseball, everybody wanted the red section of the USA Today, which is, of course, the sports. They wanted to check all the scores, and I wanted the green section. I wanted the money section. I was checking out, the business articles and stock prices. This is before we had cell phones and
right.
The ticker on your phone and all that. I mean, you had to follow it in a newspaper, right? Because I'm old.
Imagine taxiing on a plane looking toward the end of the runway. It seems so far away, it's even hard to see it. And that's what the concept of retirement probably felt like when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, way far in the distance, not visible or even a concern. But as you turn 50, something happens. Retirement suddenly seems like something real, something not too far away. In your 50s, you are rolling down the runway. Retirement is getting closer and closer, faster and faster, weeks and months zipping by. But are you even ready for a successful takeoff to retirement? Fear not, there's still runway left. But the time is now. Time to make progress and time to get a plan. The Runway Decade will help you get organized, get energized, and give you the direction you need to take off to your desired retirement. The Runway Decade, building a pre-retirement flight plan in your 50s.
And so it always interested me, and I had a background in it, and what I mean by that is I had money through the draft, and so I had invested with a financial advisor. I knew how to follow these things, and really fell in love with that, and talked to Pete when I got finished playing baseball and said, I need to graduate, but I think this is what I want to do. He's like, absolutely. Come on, we're trying to build this firm out. So graduate, immediately start going for my Series 7, 63, 65, all that stuff. Get through that, go. And one of the partners was getting a little bit older in age and kind of semi-retired, which is when we started, one of your sponsors, we started Horizon Financial in 2003. And I was with Horizon Financial until 2009, when I made the decision to go out on my own. Started a company called Champion Wealth Strategies.
What made you want to go out on your own?
I guess it's kind of a progression, maybe in that career, that you can do it on your own. And so I had a lot of people I'd talked to, wanted to do some different things maybe than what we were doing at Horizon, and talked to some other guys who were at other institutions, and they expressed interest in going the independent route, rather than being with a big company or a bank, and knew I could recruit guys to join our firm and build it out, which we did. And we were highly successful for that, ended up selling that in 2009. But over that stretch, we became one of the largest LPL offices in Louisiana, which I was really proud of, and have a lot of guys who I brought in who are still wildly successful in the industry and are doing a great job, and just phenomenal guys as well. So it was a good time.
What made you want to sell? I mean, you're building something so successful. It's almost like you want to stick around with it.
I was burnt out, and just it didn't fit me at that point. There was a lot of repetitive phone calls, with a lot of repetitive answers. People tend to get nervous, and we were experiencing one of the most wildly successful times in the market. And it was frustrated because people wanted more and more and more. They did 12% the year before, and they wanted 14 this year. And, those things begin to wear on you. And it was just a good point, to get out of that business for me. I felt like I'd done it long enough and had proven success and built it to a point where I was able to move on, leave it to some good folks to continue to run it, which he's done. Brandon Worley's done a great job with it since taking it over.
That's great. So then you finish up with your finance career.
Yeah.
What's on the, for lack of a better term, the horizon?
Oh yeah. Right.
for Patrick over here.
Yeah. So at that moment, it was kind of a wait and see. I didn't really have a next step. I had been an investor with a small company here in Baton Rouge that grew and got really big, called Marucci. And we had just sold and had been bought out by a venture capitalist firm. And so there was no rush for me to make any decisions. I just done fairly well in selling two companies, and I didn't really have, it's not the best of ideas. I don't recommend this to anybody, but it's kind of in limbo, just waiting, figuring that the next right thing would come along. And at that point, I'd been on the board for a group called Sports BR, which is a travel and lodging entity in Baton Rouge under the Visit BR umbrella, specifically focused on bringing sports tourism to Baton Rouge. And that can include anything from marathons and 10Ks and soccer tournaments and baseball tournaments, youth league, anything. It's to fill hotel rooms, generate sales tax.
Yeah. Which is huge.
It's very big, very big. I mean, we had the was it Tiger 10K, Mardi Gras Mambo, the LA Marathon, hosted bowling events. There's big soccer tournaments out at Burbank in the summer that we brought in, and a lot of smaller things that people may not recognize, but they're on virtually any weekend. There's an event that's being held that Visit BR, Sports BR is involved in bringing to town and helping facilitate those events, whether it be through housing or financial contributions or manpower, lots of different things. So it was a good group. And being on the board, the CEO at the time, who was an educator by trade but had taken over as the CEO, decided he was going to go back into the education world, took a job as a principal at Cristo Rey, and so we were left without a CEO at that point. And so I ended up getting nominated to take over as the CEO of Sports BR, which I enjoyed my time there. It was great, learned a ton, met a lot of new people who I would not have otherwise met. And was doing that on somewhat of an interim basis until we found a replacement. So that was going on for about 16 months when COVID hit, and obviously shut travel down. And Sports BR is not a huge entity, and obviously doesn't have a huge budget.
Right.
And so I decided to walk away from that. They didn't need to be paying somebody who couldn't attract stuff to Baton Rouge while that was happening. And so that's when Sports BR was on pause for a while because of COVID and the travel restrictions and all that. And then that's of course when I met you and a mutual friend of ours. Scott was looking at bringing a bank to Baton Rouge out of North Louisiana, and we put together a team, and with a few guys, a chicken man in town, and we were able to successfully bring that bank to town. And I know very little about the banking world other than I spend too much money.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
And so that was my part to play in that role. And so I've just kind of like to find these things where I can help start it up and build into something that's sustainable.
Right.
And that's continued on until today.
Yeah. So you're kind of like the startupreneur, right? You kind of
sort of
build the team and help them get going, and then
it's not necessarily by design. I've never
you don't go into it with that intent.
That's right. That's right. It just either the opportunity has presented itself for me to make an exit, or maybe there's something that that's dangling over here and kind of catching my attention that I feel really passionate about and want to go in that direction with it. So yeah, it's definitely not by design, and I wouldn't give myself that title. I don't know what you'd call it. I just try to do a good job at what I'm doing and enjoy doing it while I'm doing it.
So I want to kind of back up a little bit to your two sales,
mm-hmm.
because oftentimes entrepreneurs, they'll either have two paths or one of two paths the majority of the time. It'll be either we're going to build a company, I'm going to stay with it forever, or I'm going to build it to the point of sale,
mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to exit.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, having kind of two circumstances where you were in that build to sell, did you start out that way, or was it, I know for the financial side, for the finance company, it was, you were getting to the point where it just became too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think probably there's one of each, right? So to be clear, I wasn't an everyday guy at Marucci. I didn't punch a clock. I was an investor. So the end game there from day one was to sell. And was that going to be in 3 years, 10 years, or were my grandkids going to sell it? Or am I just going to get a huge write-off, because it went under. But yes, the ultimate end game of that one was to get to a point where it was sold. I don't think in you can ask Kurt Ainsworth this, that he ever in his wildest imagination would have, I think he had hoped that it would have gotten this big. But, were they sure it was going to get there? Were we sure that it was all going to work out like it did? No, I certainly didn't. So yeah, I think there's one of each. That one was the build it to sell, at least in my opinion, from an investor standpoint. And the other one was, it was just a circumstance that happened and, put me in the position to do that. I would, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you I would still be doing that right now. But that's just not the way it goes. And as a business owner, I think you have to be that nimble, right? And react to different situations, because there's really no playbook for being a single owner business, right? I mean, there's certain things you have to do, but there's no real way. I mean, you have to learn through experience, and sometimes you got to just trust your intuition and your gut instinct to, yes, this is what's right, and this is what's going to be best for everyone involved.
So when the sales occurred, what were your kind of thoughts leading up to the days after it? Like you have this, everything probably was building to get to the finish line until we ink the paper, and then you ink the paper, the check clears. I mean, what starts running through your head as somebody just coming off of a sale? I mean, like what were you thinking around at that time?
What's next?
So you immediately went into what's next mode.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I always want to be doing something. And whether it's having to occupy my team coaching youth kids baseball, or going to meet a next potential client. That's just something that's in me, and honestly, thinking back, I think that's what was kind of ground into me through my athletic world, through baseball, and especially Coach Bertman is, his word that he liked, you got to be relentless, no matter what you're doing, whether it's in school or dating your girlfriend or on the baseball field. You got to be relentless and passionate about what you're doing. And so, yeah, that was the immediate thought is, ooh, this is great, but what's next? And your mind immediately starts wandering, and, word kind of gets out when things have happened like that. And of course you're going to get pulled in different directions and
right.
talked to about certain opportunities, or, people wanting you to potentially invest in their baby. Right. And those are all great. And I listen to almost all of them, because I'm interested in what people are doing and what they're passionate about.
So how did you make a decision on whether or not to invest in somebody? Like you're hearing a pitch. Walk me through kind of what you were looking for at the time that was going to be investable, or were you even looking to invest, or were people just saying, "Hey, let's go grab lunch. I need to share you with."
Yeah, I mean, something's people jump out of the bush, and believe me, I've had a couple stinkers. Right, this is not an infallible, textbook way to go about these things. But I think first impressions are very important. Just how a person presents themselves and presents what they're, passionate about and trying to get you to consider. So their packaging and what that looks like, the way they're able to verbalize and communicate what their vision is and where they see it going. And also it's gotta kind of light my fire as well, from whether it's a product or a service. It could be the greatest thing if I'm not really interested and passionate about what they're doing. It's probably not going to move my needle too much, right? Because I feel like I don't want to be necessarily a passive investor. I want to be active and help and promote and be kind of a megaphone for it and aid any way I can, because ultimately that's going to come back and reward you.
Absolutely.
And so. Yeah, I think all that's important. So you want to have something that you want to get behind, and you've got to pretty strong feeling about it when you're telling other people about it and saying, hey, you go use this product or service. No, not only because I'm involved with it, but because I really think it's good and it can help you.
Yeah. You don't want to get involved unless it's something that you can use yourself or you can sell to others.
That's right. That's right.
And know it's going to solve X, Y, Z.
And it was super easy on the Marucci deal. I mean, that one for me was a no-brainer.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt Ainsworth and I were, I say off season, really, when we're living back in between seasons. We lived together in off season and we're workout partners and throwing partners and all that. And super good friends. Grew up together. I'm a little bit older, but we were at Catholic High around the same time, and he was older brother, and had gotten to know Joe Lawrence through some baseball stuff while in college and pro ball, and so and obviously Jack Marucci at LSU knew him. So that one was easy. Plus, it's baseball. I mean, that's what I'm passionate about. So
that's what you spend your whole life doing.
That's right, and it wasn't hard for me to find an audience. Right, if we're playing, and this is before people really knew who Marucci was. The kid would say, "Hey, I need a new glove. Go get a Marucci. Or I need a bat. Go get a Marucci." And so that's something that was really fun, very unique, and stuff like that doesn't come around very often, probably once in a lifetime. And so that's part of it, but I also feel like I've got a fairly wide and active network, that I can tap into, whether it's to help people or to ask for help myself. I think that's important, because people who are successful and maybe a little bit older, they find joy in helping. And so if it's, a Charlie D'Agostino, who was a dear friend of my family's, I would go to him a lot, and he loved just, to give me his input. And, I'm so grateful, to have known him. And, another guy, Wally McMakin, and, Richard Lipsy, guys like that, Billy Guitro, who I've been able to lean on and ask for help. Mike Wample's another one. These guys love to help. So I think it's important that people in any profession and in any stage of their life ask for help. I think it's gratifying for the person who's given you. They like to help the next generation, and by the way, it makes them feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get good information out of them, I promise.
Oh, yeah, the experience that they have and the history that they have is incredible.
And they may give you a perspective that you would have never thought of through that experience that they have, and that's why it's so neat. So, wow, I don't even know what question you asked me, but that was my answer.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
So how has the ecosystem and the landscape of, being in the investor phase of your life, how has that changed over the last few years?
Gotten a lot more specific in it, and I'm probably a lot more involved. So for instance, I've recently started a company called Rapid Impact Erosion Control. And your next question is probably going to be, Patrick, how in the world did you get involved in that? Because I've never had a job in construction in my life.
Yeah.
But this kind of goes back to your question of what I look for and all that. This one was very intriguing. A friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, I've got access to this product. It's a proprietary product. I think you might be interested. I think you wanna hear about this."
And you're like, "Is it baseball related?"
It's not baseball. It's dirt related, but not baseball related. So I guess somewhat. And so, I hear him out and he's done. I said, "Well, why hasn't anyone else done it?" "Well, it's being done a little bit in different regions, but I'm telling you, it's a home run." Well, anytime something's a home run, there's a gotcha.
Right.
But there isn't really. So I did the due diligence on it, and it really intrigued me. I'd over this time period gotten to know a lot of folks in construction, just in these weird circumstances. Got involved with the ABC, and just got to know a lot of these people and how much pride they take in their work, and just how good, down to earth people, hardworking, really care about this. So I mean, the construction world started to intrigue me a lot. And when I got introduced to this product, I found that we would be the only ones to be able to use it. We have a exclusivity deal with it. It's a proprietary mix that we use that helps solve erosion control issues, which Louisiana doesn't have huge amounts of slopes, but we get lots and lots of rain, right? And so these problems, which I didn't really know how vast they were at the time, exist everywhere, right? And we're always building roads and overpasses with lots of elevation, and there's waste landfills that have to be elevated, and there's retention ponding that has to be put in now in every real estate development, along with lots and lots of other applications. But it was something that intrigued me, and did a lot of due diligence on it, and I've just really enjoyed working with the people. Again, getting back, it's part of that building thing, trying to craft where you want the business to go, what it looks like now, and maybe 12 months from now, 36 months, and then ultimately 10 years. It's been a really challenging but exciting time going through it, and I've really enjoyed this one a ton.
So what does it actually do?
It's a water-based polymer, so we do erosion control, and typically you see it's called erosion matting or erosion blankets.
Okay.
That, most people would probably see them on the roadside. It's kind of a neon green looking nylon mesh matting with some thatching in it, and in theory it helps keep the soil where it's supposed to be. It doesn't work a lot of times because you get a lot of rutting and the water kind of goes through it, where ours is a proprietary soil binder. So it binds with the soil, creates a hard stucco finish, which keeps the dirt intact, promotes vegetation, and it works. It gets you to the point where you've got a good root base for the vegetation, which ultimately is what you're looking for to stop erosion. So it works quickly, dries quickly, goes on quickly, and it's the cheaper alternative. And I didn't get into it this reason, but it's been, it's deemed to be a green product as well. It's environmentally friendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're going from baseball and financial advising to now solving erosion problems.
Yeah. Crazy how you're
just weaving in and out.
Yeah.
So this one, did you go into it? Which mindset did you have going into this business?
This one is kind of starting it from its infancy, and it's going to take a bit to build.
Okay.
Right. Because a lot of it, when Marucci started, it was, hey, we sell baseball bats. Well, I know what to do with a baseball bat, right?
It's pretty
You
simple.
play baseball, right? This one is I sell a water-based polymer. Well, what do I do with that? You know? And so it's an education process. We spent a lot of time educating people on that there's an alternative out there that works better and is cheaper. And so that's been the baby steps of it while you know, getting work and selling product and applying product, you know, has come. You know, there's that lag time of educating people and letting them know that you're an option to now where people are, you know, picking up the phone and calling us and, hey, y'all the ones that do this, right? Heard about y'all. Can you tell me more about it? Or, hey, I've got this project I need help with right now. So this is definitely not a quick sell. I would say. I would hope to be wrong. I mean, I'd be happy to be wrong.
So somebody wants to buy a water-based polymer.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, call me. Everything's for sale.
Look, that's right. Everything's for sale. Everything's got a price.
That's it.
You know?
Yeah.
It's all a matter of who's willing to pay it.
That's right. You just got to find a seller and a buyer and match them together, then a sale will happen. But until that happens, you know, you got to put in the work and develop it and build the brand, get the word out there, and educate as many people as you can, and just have great customer service, and they'll have you back on their site, I promise you.
So on an education-based product like y'all's, what are kind of like the first steps of building something like that? You know, for somebody that's maybe listening who's got the greatest solution there is, but it's all on education, that you've got to spend your time to get people to know how to use it. You know? Become the expert yourself. Do as much research, not only on your product, but what is the market using right now? What is the market saying? Because without that knowledge, you're not going to know who to go to. You know, so you have to have as much knowledge as possible. Then you have to have a network or know people with networks to be able to get into the places where the action's happening. Right. So whether it's real estate developers or it's industrial contractors, or DOTD type providers that do certain things like that, you have to know who the players are in that game. And it's not just making a phone call and they'll say, oh, hey, yeah, sounds great. You've got to build that relationship. They've got to trust you. You've got to build that up. Show them results of your project. So we spent a lot of time on R&D. We spent a lot of time showing the results of our work. You know, I probably visit projects way too often. The people we work for may get tired of seeing me, but I was, you know, tracking the progress of each one of these projects we were involved in, just to be able to show results to people moving forward. Right.
And I think that's paid huge dividends. It's being able to document the progress that goes through the process of what you're doing and how the results can benefit them, because all we're trying to do is solve somebody else's pain point, right? And we feel we've got a better mousetrap that can solve those things for them at a better price and better results.
This episode is proudly presented by Gage. Gage is a local company here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For over 40 years, Gage has provided businesses with the very best telecommunications, IT, and standby power services available. Gage has a variety of services, including Gage Cloud Voice. It is the last phone system your business will ever need. You need to give your business the ability to be accessible anytime, anywhere, and with Gage's cloud-based phone system, you'll be able to accomplish just that. Not only do they have Gage Cloud Voice, they have fully managed IT services that are proactive network monitoring, 24/7, 365, help desk, business continuity. They are there for you. What you're also going to need is some cybersecurity. Gage is there to safeguard your business from potential cyber threats, even when you aren't aware they exist. Gage also is power and leaders in standby generators. They are the #1 Cummins dealer on the Gulf Coast and provide generators to homes and businesses of any size so you can keep life going. Gage, better connected, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show.
So you started building businesses and selling businesses, but you've kind of stayed here in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. What has kept you here?
I mean, I was born in New Orleans, but don't remember. You know, I mean, I was too young.
Yeah.
So I've been in Baton Rouge basically all my life, outside of playing baseball and being gone for months at a time. I don't know. My friends are here. My family's here. I've got young kids. Well, I say that. I've got a 19-year-old. He'd kill me if I told him he was young. But he's at LSU. But I've got, you know, a high school freshman, and then I've got a first grader.
Quite a range there.
Yeah. Spread them out. Yeah, I'm the oldest dad on the coach's pitch team, by the way.
Love it.
And they don't let me forget about that. Yeah, I guess my connections with LSU are strong. My family's, I mentioned, my mom's still here. We all complain about it, but I love the weather here. I mean, I'd much rather be hot and humid than, you know, cold and snowy. I don't know, just kind of put my roots down here, and will I always be here? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've got no plans to leave, but yeah, I just enjoy it here in Baton Rouge.
Well, and what amazes and intrigues me is the fact that you've been able to do what you've done for all this time, and you haven't had to seek opportunities elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
you're doing business in other places, and the companies are growing beyond.
Right.
But you didn't have to go somewhere to find something. You know, like this polymer product was local to here, right?
Yeah.
So like just showing that there's opportunities here if you keep looking.
There is, you know, on some scale, right? And I know you've dealt with this. I assume you can outgrow Baton Rouge, right? From a talent standpoint and like a specific talent standpoint. You know, if you're in the restaurant business, for instance, you know, there's only limited amounts of people that have that knowledge, and there really are some hubs in the country where ultimately you're going to have to go there if you want to continue your growth model, right, and your trajectory that you're on. So that's understandable. But I think, you know, when I played baseball, I would meet lots of people from different parts of the country and world, quite frankly. They like, tell me about where you're from. You know, tell me, you know, how do I describe Baton Rouge? I'm like, well, it's either the biggest, smallest town or smallest, biggest town. I don't know which one it is, because it can function like a big city at times, right?
Yeah.
But then it can function like a really small town where, you know, gossip and all that can get around really quick. But I think it's a good sized city for me. I've always enjoyed it. Maybe we need to fix a few potholes and some things here and there, but get the traffic going a little bit better. But, you know, Baton Rouge is home for me.
Yeah, and that's always, to me, it's like you find these people that say they want to end up leaving and going elsewhere once they found success. But for someone in your situation where you found multiple kind of rounds of success, it's like you're still here.
Yeah.
You know, you're still a part of the community. You're involved. You're doing what you can. And like that, to me, speaks volumes of kind of like once people get here and they figure out, oh, I can put roots down and stay here and have all variety of opportunities, whether it's in sports or it's in construction.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that can be done and created here.
Yeah, and I think I'm speaking for me specifically, but it really is based on your network, right? And I guess I'm so Baton Rouge centric with my network that it just makes sense for me. I mean, you know, a lot of other people can tap into others' networks out of town, which, you know, we all can do. But I feel like mine is so Baton Rouge centric that it just fits me the best.
So how do you go about networking and find out new connections?
Man, I like talking with people. And I guess I'm fortunate. I'm quite frankly, I'm shy to talk about my time at LSU, and I loved it. Right, I'm just not comfortable talking about myself really. But for whatever reason, people my age, you're younger than I am, still remember those teams, right? And they always want to talk, or somebody always will know, hey, I played for Coach Bertman, and they want to know, how was he really like, and tell us the real stories. And so I think that intrigues people. So it's given me the opportunity of some open doors that I wouldn't have had else, otherwise. And so that's been, something that's kind of goes back to your question of why I stay in Baton Rouge. I think that has helped open doors for me and network. I mean, you can't substitute for going to the crawfish boils and the lunches and the meet and greets and all those things are vitally necessary, right? Because you're going to meet new people every time at those things. But I feel like I've been fortunate to know the right people, and as I've built relationships with them, I'm tapped into their network, and then their network, and then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, wow, this is great. I've got the cell phone number of that guy who I really need help with at that company right now.
Yeah.
And so you have the ability to call him and whether it's ask for a favor or tell him that you can help him solve a problem. It makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, you're able to find somebody you need within less than 2 connections.
That's right.
That's what I've kind of always told people. It's like, if I need something, I know between 2 phone calls I can find the decision maker,
right,
to solve or help solve.
And that's very important.
Oh yeah.
It makes your time a lot more efficient. And anytime, if I were to call somebody and I said, Patrick Grimion gave me your number and told me to call you, you're gaining instant credibility right there, right, from the person on the other side of that phone call. And so, having those connections and using them, again, it goes back to what I said earlier about asking for help. People are more than willing to help you out. It's amazing, if you have those good relationships and trust with people, people are more than willing to help you out.
Oh yeah,
they like to see success in other people as well.
They love to see success, and for somebody living here, it's always real nice when you start the conversation around LSU.
Sure,
LSU, anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I could only imagine what it would be like to have been the quarterback for LSU. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, but see, you were a part of a team at the time that was incredibly successful.
Yeah.
So you had that just in a different. How can any sport at LSU be small? But a smaller sport at LSU than football.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, now I feel like the sports are kind of figuring out their equilibrium almost. I mean, you're always going to have football be the powerhouse.
And it was really, I guess, the times that I was there, the years in which I was there, was really kind of explosive growth for LSU baseball. The football team was having some down years. Basketball team was up and down. People were hungry for a winner, and that's kind of when Coach Bertman had gotten right into the full swing of his deal. I mean, yeah, they had won 2 championships before I'd gotten there, but it was on the upswing, and then the attendance started exploding, and they started having to make plans for a new stadium and all that. So it was very beneficial for me to participate in it at that time. I'll say that, and I'm always truly so thankful that I was able to do that.
So have you had a chance to connect with athletes that are on the team now?
A little bit.
Compare and contrast stories to back when you were there playing, and what is it like now? The changes or the similarities even?
A little bit. So we've got a group that gets together, and we've got some old heads, right? Like Pete Bush, older guys, and it's typically at Pete's house. That's why I bring him up. And we've got a wide range of guys that have just finished, maybe in the last 2 years, to guys. And when we get together and we're telling old stories about what Coach Bertman used to make us do, and we had to paint the stadium and the field, like we had to do all the work. And these guys now, it's only baseball. They got their own grounds crew, they got their own maintenance fee. And so it almost is like start to feel old when you tell those stories. Like, back in my day when we had to do this, this, and this, and these guys are like, no, we didn't do that. We didn't have to do that. And some of the older guys are just, they get frustrated. They're like, oh, these kids today are so spoiled, and they get paid, they get the NIL and all that. So I don't think the current players really want to hear that from us old guys. But yeah, LSU baseball is I think it's unique in that all the generations have kind of melded together, and we can all hang out and tell war stories, and it's the exact same stories. The names just change. I mean, they're not doing anything different today than we did years ago. They're still being stupid baseball players doing the same silly stuff.
All the while trying to win championships.
All the while, yeah, you gotta compete sometimes, but you gotta make it fun too.
Well, yeah, I think that's part of any athletics is you've all are on a team striving for the same goal, and you got to figure out a way to have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, there's nothing like setting the guy's shoelaces on fire in the dugout, something like that, just to keep everybody on their toes.
Well, yeah, otherwise you gotta, for some people when they're watching baseball, it's quite a slow sport.
Yeah,
you gotta keep some fire going.
Yeah, well, I was a pitcher, and so not an everyday player like a shortstop or a third baseman. I mean, it gets boring, right? And you gotta keep your mind occupied and doing stuff, and so it usually ends up in some kind of dugout game of some sort, using the steps and cups and all kinds of stuff, and then you just sometimes lose your mind and want to catch somebody's shoe on fire.
The shoe on fire thing, were you involved?
Yeah.
What's the story to the shoe on fire?
Well, you get some bubble gum, right? And you get a firework, right? Like a black cat. And you get the gum and put it on there, and you stick it to the back of the guy's shoe, and when he's not looking, you come up behind him and you light the wick, and everybody kind of scatters. Boom! And the guy whose foot it's on, may or may not have to go change uniforms at that point because he's the only one who didn't see it coming. But
this is a common occurrence.
Oh, yes, this goes on in lots and lots of dugouts.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
That's good fun.
That's been paid. It's been passed down for many a baseball generation. So yeah, that's common.
That's
the bubble on the hat when the guy's not looking, and everybody thinks it's funny. It's really not, but yeah, that's stuff that goes on in the dugout that people may or may not know about.
I love that. Any other little trinkets that go on in the dugout?
I can tell you there's not a whole lot of math homework, going on in there. We didn't have a lot of rocket scientists that we were dealing with, except for Eddie Furness. Dr. Eddie Furness was always very grade conscientious. So, yeah, there's lots of stuff. Some can be told and some can't. I'll leave it at that.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. So as we kind of start to wind down the show, we have our set questions we ask every guest.
Okay.
So, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Monkey bars. We used to have, like one of those cool wooden swing sets in the backyard, and I remember growing up and watching like the Summer Olympics and thinking that I was going to be the next male, gold medal winning male gymnast. So we had like the trapeze thing and the monkey bars, and
that's fantastic.
We kind of made it a deal of like our own kind of apparatus. But I would definitely blow out 3 or 4 joints if I tried to do that today.
That's a good one. The monkey bars.
Yeah,
those were some fun times as kids. You look back and you kind of start getting fascinated at how strong little kids are for body weight strength. Like,
right.
Yeah, carrying yourself on monkey bars now is like,
yeah,
I don't know how possible that is.
It's amazing. I've got 3 boys, and the stuff they do in strength and conditioning training now versus what we used to, the very linear stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing all these compound movements and have different types of machines, and have they can change their bodies so quickly as they mature, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So you've been involved with a few different organizations at different phases of them.
Mm-hmm.
What are like 3 lessons you've learned throughout the course of your career so far?
Yeah, you got to show up, you got to work hard, and you got to be trustworthy. I think all those are key tenets to just presenting who you are as, whether it's your personal brand or your company's brand. You got to show that consistency to gain the trust of people who are going to use you.
Yeah, that's 100% right. So what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
I guess the easy go-to would be LSU athletics, so I won't say that one.
It's a good one, though.
I can say a restaurant, huh?
You can say whatever you want. It's just,
a Dearman's hamburger. We're close to there right now. I'm kind of craving that.
Go get some Dearman's hamburgers.
A Dearman's hamburger.
That's good. See, normally we get people that are like, "Oh, it's the people," but you get some food. I love that.
Yeah.
So for the final question, what can I do to help you?
Oh wow, that's a great question, Patty. You can help by fixing LSU's hitting in the clutch this season. They're not really good at hitting with runners on bases.
How in the world can I help with that?
You just asked if I could help. If you could help, I didn't know how you're going to do it.
That's just something you need help. Okay, all right. I'll have to figure something out.
But in all honesty, I really enjoy your show, and I watch it a good bit. You can help me by keep having great guests on, because I've learned a lot by watching the other guests on your show, and I'd like to continue that, right? With the good guests that you're getting, just to hear perspectives of what people are doing, why they're doing it, and how they're becoming successful at doing it. I think we can all learn from one each other, and that's what it's all. In the framework of a team, that was always our goal, was to raise the play of everyone around you. And I think that's no different than in the business community of Baton Rouge. If we're all getting better, people ask, well, how do we make Baton Rouge better? Well, that's one good way. Make all the business owners and the citizens better. And if we can learn from each other and not argue about silly stuff, I think we can all be better for that and keep learning.
I think we got to go back to the collegiate sports level mindset, where it's team.
Yeah.
We've been spending too much time in the pros.
Yeah.
And fighting for one and only.
Yeah.
We need to fight for one for all.
Yeah, you're very right. Very right. And it helps to have a good coach. I'll let you understand what that means. I'll stay out of the political talk.
Well, man, thanks for coming on.
Awesome, man.
I appreciate you coming and sit down.
Yeah, what a great studio. What a great show you have. This is all. I appreciate you inviting me. This has been fun.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you on. I know that you're going to be a connector to make sure we keep on having some good guests. I just know it.
Yeah.
So
call me anytime. I'll help get you whoever you need.
So appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely. And thank you, everybody else, for watching. We'll see y'all on the next one.